Hi, and welcome to a brand new episode of Sippin' Tea with Suzanne. I am your fabulous host, Positively Suzanne, and it is the lovely month of May, so we're so excited to kick it off. As you know, we go into the season hiatus, the season finale at the end of June, so I'm excited because we're fully booked for the month of May and finalizing the guests for the month of June. But I'm so excited because in the studio with me today, kicking off the month of May, I have the fabulous Miss Armida. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on your show and to be co-creating with you today.
All right, I love it. No, thank you. And I love you're already dressed for summer. You're like,
I'm so ready.
like she's like, I am ready for summer. I don't care if it's raining. It's like
I do not care. I'm wearing my sandals and my summer dress.
I love it. And today was a gorgeous day, though.
It was.
Today was really gorgeous. Like yesterday was, I don't know what that was, but I thought that today was lovely.
It was.
And I was like, but I kept looking for the rain. Isn't that funny?
Right.
Isn't it?
Well, it was supposed to rain.
It was.
And God, Mother Nature changed her mind.
Yes.
And now we got some, it was cloudy, but then it got sunny, and we're just rolling with it.
We're just rolling with it. I did layers. I'm like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you for being a guest. And I'm so excited to chat.
Me too. Thank you for having me here.
Anytime. All right. So I just want to say thank you to our loyal viewers and subscribers. For those of you last week, I know we've been missing from the studio for the last 2 weeks. The week before we had school vacation week. And then last week we broadcast live from the White Room. It was Denim Day from Pathways for Change. So thank you all so much for sticking with us. I appreciate you guys. You know that you can catch us on Facebook under Positively Suzanne or on YouTube under Positive Vibe Studio, so you can go back and catch any episode that you want. Do want to shout out our executive producer, Paul Anderson, for making the magic happen week after week. Thank you all so much. Also remember, if you are interested in being a guest or if you have a guest that you would like to recommend, please reach out to me at Suzanne@positivelysuzanne.com. I'm excited. It's called Sippin' Tea with Suzanne, and as you know, we've transitioned from hot tea because it's a little hot. So we are doing iced tea for the rest of the summer, and there is no tequila in it. So just want to clarify that. Like, okay, she's like, I'm off the set. I'm done. I'm done. So I'm gonna try and get to the ice. So I just rearranged the chairs, and I think I might have moved them a little too far. Like, I think I moved them a little too far. But we have ice.
We got this. Teamwork.
Like, teamwork makes the dream work. And, like, we're going to pretend we didn't see that ice fall.
We're good.
All right. Okay. Tell me if you need more ice.
We're good.
Okay, we're good? Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. So, we're good. Perfect. So, we're going to, all right, perfect. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, if you put that on there, I can, yeah. So, we have iced tea. And
I love iced tea.
it's up to you to determine if it's homemade. I'm not going to tell you guys. Perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to put mine.
And we'll cheers.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to try it now.
One day we'll sip mimosas, but not today.
Not today.
Not today.
One day, that's
all right.
not today.
So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Yes.
It's delicious.
Oh, so good.
So refreshing.
So good. So needed. Because I'm a little hot. You know, we were talking before the show, like the things that we do, as women, as men, moms, as, like men do it a lot too. And the show's truly not, just women focused. I just happen to have a lot more female guests. But I was just thinking about running around like all day today and everything that we're doing. And I think you and I both pulled up at the same time because I was picking up my daughter from dance. You were dropping your daughter at dance.
Yes.
And I came in and we're both like, we get to sit down.
And have fun and chat and do what we love to do as women, right?
I know. It's just like, so that was just really nice. I was like, oh my God, like I don't think I've sat down and had a really intentional like sip of thing today. Like the eating was functional today.
Same.
So yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome and thank you. Because I was like, yeah. So this is why I do my tea parties for myself every day. So I'll do one tonight because I need that moment. I need that moment to, just reflect and pause and just be me.
I love that. So you have a tea party every day.
Every day.
That is amazing.
Every
I love
day.
that.
Every
That's
day.
pretty cool.
Every
I
day.
do take time for myself, but not through a tea party. elaborate that. So what do you do in your tea party? Just
Just
interested.
it's just because like a tea party. Like I do like it's a setup for me. It's like
Yeah.
the setup. Have
It's
the
the
saucer,
ambience.
the cup. It's a setup. Things like that. I just might just relax and make my tea and brew my tea and just sit down and just think, or I might read, or I just do nothing.
I love
I'm just
that.
existing in the moment.
I love that. That's pretty cool.
Sometimes I dress up. Sometimes I put on a gown. Sometimes I put on a tiara. Sometimes I put on a fascinator.
Yeah.
It all depends on the mood.
I love that.
But it's just being still
Mm,
and just enjoying the moment.
I love that. I do that every morning for self-care.
Wonderful.
Differently. So I
That's
have to start my
wonderful.
day
Mm-hmm.
really connecting to myself. And I like to say, like,
Mm.
I have my three things that I like to do, which is to nurture my mind, my body, and my soul. And I like to do it first thing in the morning because I figure, like, when I don't do it first thing in the morning, I'm kind of unorganized the rest of my day.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that sets the tone for the rest of my day. So I'm very intentional every morning, especially Monday through Friday. It's not, I don't want to say every morning because nothing's 100%.
Oh no.
But Monday through Friday, 80% of the time, 80-20 rule, and making sure that I take out, even if it's like carve about 20 minutes for some type of movement, some type of breath work to connect to self, and then reading and meditating and prayer, and that gets me going. And I make sure that I'm intentional about that on most days.
All right, I
Yeah.
love that. Well, that segues perfectly into what we're going to talk about. So I was excited to have you on the show because, we have some similarities. And as we were talking before the show, I'm telling you, I wish y'all could be here for like the before and the after. We discovered even more similarities. So you are when I met you, and you still are a life and relationship coach. And so talk to me about that. Was that something that you always wanted to do, and how did you become a life and relationship coach?
That's a great question. And absolutely, I never thought I was going to end up being a life and relationship coach. If you had asked me as a young child what I was going to be doing, I would have said a singer. I love to sing, but I am not a great singer.
I was just about to say sing. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, I can, I
You
don't
can do a
sound
thing.
terrible, but
You
I'm
can do a
not,
thing.
but I'm not Beyonce.
Okay. I mean, few are, but go on.
I wanted to do that or dance. I love dance.
Okay.
However, I went to school to be, I became a social worker. I went to school for business, became a social worker, completely opposite, did that for so many years. And I really enjoyed helping people. I found that through social work, gave me that experience. However, I went through a transition. In 2019, I had a spiritual awakening. That's when I realized like everything in my life was falling apart. It's like I felt like I was surrounded. I lived in a home. I had a husband, 3 kids, a dog, and I had never felt so alone in my life before. And I remember I had a really like a moment. It was a moment in time that kind of, how everybody says they have that moment that changes everything. That was that moment for me. The house, I was working in real estate at that moment because I had quit my social work career to be home with the kids and to help my husband who was doing real estate work, and he was doing wholesaling. And so we were working on that. And I remember he had left to work. I dropped off the kids at school. My little one was in pre-K. And I came home. It was cloudy. And I just remember standing in front of my office. And I had this huge windows. And I looked up into the sky. And I just dropped down to my knees. And I just cried and cried for what it seemed like hours. It was probably like 15, 20 minutes. I'm being dramatic. But it felt like hours.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment, I was like, I had a moment of surrender. And I was like, I finally was like, I don't know what is going on. I feel so disconnected. Like, what's all this pain and disconnection that I'm feeling? And I was like, God, please help me figure this out. I'm ready for change. I can't keep living my life this way. And after I let it all out, I got up and looked in the mirror. And I remember I looked at myself in the mirror and my eyes were like puffy and swollen. And it's like I connected with my soul for the first time. It's like I'd seen myself for the first time. And even though I had like cried as hard as I did, and I had like tears, knots going down my shirt, I had finally seen myself and I felt a sense of peace. It's like I knew things were gonna change. I didn't know how much they were gonna change. They say when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and things started to change. I started to do a lot of connecting to myself, which connected me to my higher power. I started to do a lot of just really inner work, and I didn't know what I was doing in the moment. I had hit so like hard rock bottom that I was really just trying to dig myself out of that, not realizing that once I was able to get to the other side, it became a no-brainer that I was like, how do I help others? Because this was in 2019, right before COVID.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit in January of 2020, I felt like a whole new person. I did go through a phase of trying to numb by drinking and partying, and I'm not gonna deal with my feelings, so I'm gonna numb, right? That was my initial way of handling the situation.
Yeah.
And then I remember like January of 2020, it was cold, it was sunny, I was doing the dishes, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I feel so amazing. And life is so much better, yet nothing outside of me had changed. I was the one that had changed. And I was like, wow, that is so powerful. I noticed my relationships were growing and changing and shifting. And no one outside, they weren't doing work. I was doing the work. So I realized like, wow, I am the cause and the effect of everything. That's when I had that realization. And then I was like, so many of us struggle in relationships, struggle through life, and we don't know how we show up affects everything. We don't realize that life is a mirror, and we tend to take things personal and feel like a victim. And when we stop doing that and we start to work with life, things start to change, and then your reality starts to reflect that. And so that's how I became a coach. It was really my own transformation, because once I crossed that bridge, I'm like, how do I help others? Because I know that I'm not the only one that's suffering through life. I realized like pain is a natural part of life. Suffering is a choice, but we don't know that. Yeah.
Okay. And that started your journey into becoming a life and relationship coach. All right. So then how did you decide so now you've decided to do that, to start your own business?
Yes. So that same day, I was like, I had that realization. I was like, when you connect to yourself, you connect to God, you connect to all of life. And I remember I was like, how do I help others? I mean, I had no clue what a coach was. I mean, I kind of had an idea, but I didn't even think I had it in me to be a coach, because it's not like I was, that was my childhood dream.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
And I was like, how do I help others? And I opened myself up to that possibility, and I set my intentions. And literally, I think it was a few days later, I went online, opened up my email, and I got this email she's called Mandy Morris from Authentic Living. And I don't know who she is. I don't know how she ended up in my mailbox, because I had never had any awareness of her. And I opened my email, and there's this quick video of her talking about a program to help you. It was called not Whole Healers. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a program to help you become a coach. And at the end of her video, she said, and if no one has told you today, I love you. That woman hit my soul. I felt her love in that moment. Mind you, I didn't even know who she was.
Yeah.
And I remember starting to cry and saying, she's the lady that she's the person I want to work with. And I immediately looked for her course, looked her up. Well, I had the email, clicked on the link, went to her website, and signed up to take her courses that give us the blueprint on how to become a coach, right? Because I had taken myself through the transformation, but it's different from me taking myself, from me providing the space for other people. So how do I gain that? And I went through that certification program, which it was January I signed up for it. As we know, March 2020, everything shut down. But the classes were set to schedule in April, and it was virtually because she was located in Colorado. So needless to say that while the world was in upheaval because of COVID, and I'm not going to say that I had my moments, I was really grateful that I had the experience that I had in 2019, because it prepared me for 2020. I never felt like a victim. I never was in fear. And if I was in fear, for a moment, I was able to get myself back to grounded and to connection with my higher power, and to have certainty and trust that I was going to be okay, that my family was going to be okay, and that we all as humanity were going to be okay. And so I focused that all my time through COVID, I was really learning how to coach people, going through her process. We were taking weekly meetings. We were coaching each other's coaches, coaching coaches. And so it was an amazing growth-filled experience. We graduated in June when things started to kind of open back up.
Open back up, yeah.
And part of my graduation was to coach 20 people. I had to get my own people to coach. And I was like, how am I going to get 20 people to coach, right?
Yeah.
I got one person, then the next person, and then they felt like they were getting results just from like one coaching session. And so they were referring other people. So I was able to coach 20 people within 20 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks, because people kept referring people back to me. So I was like, there's something here, right? So that gave me the confidence to say, you know what? I want to do this as a business. And that was a really powerful decision for me at the moment, because I was, at that point, I had separated from my husband, my ex-husband. I was home with the kids, and to decide to go and be an entrepreneur.
Yes, fun. Divorce, hello.
I sold my house.
Okay.
I got a divorce. I moved into my parents' basement.
Okay.
With 3 kids, and I launched the business. Like, talk about a whole life of
And there was a pandemic happening.
Right. Talk about a full transformation.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, no, well, thank you for sharing that. And, I'm listening to your story, and I'm thinking like you were going through so much, but you were intentional that you wanted to help others, because you knew that if you were going through that, others were certainly going through that. And then how do you help? And I think that's, folks that are coaches, and I think they need to have that empathetic bone, to just be able to say, like, I want to help others. But, being a coach, I think it's meaningful work. And yes, I know there's so many coaches out there now, and there's some that are not coaches, and, y'all got to deal with that, and, deal with your own demons. But being a coach, right, and helping others and going through so much, how do you prioritize making sure that you don't get consumed by the ones that you're coaching?
I love that. So for me, it's about how I serve, being intentional of filling up my cup. I think throughout my journey, what I realized is that when we show up to life with an empty cup, we have expectations, and we want to take from others, because we don't realize that we can give ourselves those things that we expect from others. And I feel like that's the realization I had, and that's why I became a relationship coach, because I realized, like, when I fill up my own cup, now I'm an overflow. So when I'm giving to others, I'm not taking from myself. I'm giving because I have an overflow. So I'm able to give from a place of really wanting to serve. And I feel like that's what I realized my relationship started to blossom, because energetically there wasn't that expectation anymore. There was that intention, of course, because we need to have intentions, and how we want to show up and how we want to be treated and treat others. And it's like, honestly, my work, people have told me, like, how do you do this work? I see myself in my clients, because I once was them. I was on the other side of the room. And so I see myself in my clients. So I'm able to hold that space for them to see themselves. And I feel like what makes me a good coach is that my clients, and I'm sure you know this, because I feel like you and I are so energetically aligned, they come to me because they feel like they're broken, but they're not broken.
No.
And I hold that wholeness for them that they can't see. And my goal as a coach is to hold that no matter what they're doing, what they're seeing, what they're going through. It's to hold that safe space for them to be heard, seen, and validated. Yet I don't allow that to consume me, because then if I step down to that level, then they're not going to grow. I have to hold the vision, hold the energy of their wholeness, for them to tap into that and see the possibilities. And so because I get to hold that frequency, I feel honored and to do the work that I do, because no matter what, and I have clients who give me a hard time, but I hold the space. I don't take it personal. Eventually they get there, and you just got to keep holding that space. So to me, it's about holding that energy, that frequency, seeing them in their wholeness, and making sure that I'm taking care of myself, because if I can't see my own wholeness, I can't see someone else's.
No, absolutely. So let me ask you this, because, it certainly happened for me, and, thank you for mentioning that, I'm a coach, but it certainly happened for me. As you grow as a coach, right, you start setting more intentional boundaries with every relationship in your life, because you realize that every single relationship needs boundaries, including yourself, right? So
Absolutely.
what was that part like when you realized, like, huh, okay.
I love that because you know what? This is why I feel like I love relationship coaching. I love it because I feel like that's one of the things, of course, I had to work through myself is being able to speak my truth, which a lot of times we're afraid to speak our truth because we're afraid of losing love and connection. And that goes back to we hold back, then we become then resentful, then we become angry, and then we don't set boundaries with people, and all that creates superficial relationships because if you're not being authentic and real and sharing and vulnerable with the people that you're in relationship or you're not connecting at a deep level with them, boundaries, I gotta tell you, it was a hard lesson for me because I was afraid of setting boundaries because I was afraid of losing love and connection. But what I learned and what I teach my clients is that boundaries are so important because they're a blueprint for how you want to be treated. We all have different perspectives. We all have experienced different traumas. We all have been through different things in lives. And common sense is not really common because it doesn't exist. We can look at things differently. So I always tell people like boundaries are everything. Boundaries is a way of you loving yourself, choosing yourself, and teaching people how you want to be treated. I think there's a problem. A lot of people when they want to set their boundaries, they're not vulnerable. They make it about the other person. And I feel like that's what creates a lot of disconnection in relationships because it's really if we think about it, it's not what the other person, it's not that the other person is triggering us or doing something we don't like. It's not them, it's that what they're doing we don't like. So it's not about them, it's that their behavior is making us feel a certain type of way. So it's our responsibility to communicate that effectively with whomever we're dealing with, right? So boundaries are a beautiful, necessary thing for people to know how to show up for us. And it starts with us. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, you have to know your own boundaries. And I think as you grow older and as you evolved, your boundaries change. I mean, back in the day, I used to give people rides to the airport. Now my boundaries are no. It's a no for me.
I love it. It's like, nope, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. When I was younger, no. But
I love that.
I've always, even before I knew it was called boundaries, right? I've always intentionally told people how I wanted to be treated. So I remember an incident with a young lady that, we were all friendly and they addressed each other's with the B word. And I remember, and the W word and the C word. And it was just never words I wanted associated with me. And I get like folks that they've taken the power back and, I applaud you. I just don't want that. And I remember we were somewhere and she was just like, yeah, we're all, and she used the W word. And everybody was fine. And I pulled her and I said, okay, so, hey, I get that's how you talk. But I said that word has never been associated with me. It's not a word that I associate with me. So I'm going to ask you, when you're doing it, and even though we're all here together and you're including everybody, I'm not a part of it. I said, I will not answer to it. Please don't address me as it. You're comfortable with that. I get that. No judgment, but it's just not. She's like, okay, you're being so dramatic. I was like, no, just not a word that I want used with me. And she was like, oh, okay. And she never did again. Because I felt like I didn't say, you shouldn't, it wasn't the time to give her a lecture, like you shouldn't address yourself like that, because some women do. And that's okay. But I was telling her, for me personally, it's a no for me. And
I love that.
We were fine.
Yeah. Well, how can you not? That's a perfect way to set boundaries. You didn't like it, but you didn't take it personal. And you were vulnerable by sharing with her, I don't like, this is when you said that, this is how it made me feel, and I don't like it. And she was able to hear that and respect that, because that's what happens when we're setting boundaries with people. If we point the finger and make it all about them, they're not able to hear us, because the minute somebody's pointing the finger at you, your walls come up, right?
Yeah.
We get defensive.
You get defensive,
so, of course, you're a pro that said, setting your boundaries. You said, I don't like it. You took accountability for your feelings. You never shamed her or made her wrong for, talking like that. You just said, I don't want to be.
It ain't me.
Right. That's not for me. And she was able to hear that. And
No.
That's how we set healthy boundaries.
No,
right?
absolutely. And I encourage folks, if there is something, because one of the things you said earlier that I think is so important, right? Like when you're setting your boundaries and if you don't, then you're going to get resentful.
Right.
But if the person doesn't know that they're violating a boundary of yours, they're going to consistently do it.
Absolutely.
So have the conversation and if you have it multiple times and then they don't, then they just don't want to.
Right.
And then that's a different conversation. It's not about boundaries, it's about respect.
Right. Yep.
So, but yeah, no, I think boundaries is very important. So for you were a relationship coach, and then was it last year? I think it was last year, an organization that, I'm a part of, that I'm a fan of, that I volunteer. I don't know what role I haven't done there, right?
Right.
At EforAll.
Yes.
You took a role at EforAll as the program director. So I wanted to talk to you about that because I've given a lot of advice to folks who were entrepreneurs, and then, there's opportunities to go back in the workforce, and, they struggle with that. And, before I say that, I want to say this: there is absolutely no limits to what you can do. There is no shame in pivot. There is nothing that says one's better than the other.
Right.
It's not better to be an entrepreneur. It's not better to work 9 to 5. It's just different.
Right.
You have to find out what works for you. If you're an entrepreneur, if you work 9 to 5, or if you want to do both. Sometimes we place limits on ourselves and we have fear because we worry about what others will say, because some people see entrepreneurs as not successful, right? Or, Tyler Perry's an entrepreneur, Oprah's an entrepreneur, they're both billionaires. Just an FYI. Richard Branson is an entrepreneur. FYI. Just saying. But if that path is for you, that's for you. If you want to work 9 to 5, because being an entrepreneur is hard, working for others is hard. So I think they all come with their pros and their cons, right?
Yep.
So I am not endorsing this one is better, because I don't truly believe which one is better or worse.
Right.
It depends on what works for you and the time for you, because the season of your life that you're in, there's some seasons of your life that, an entrepreneur will work.
Right.
There's some seasons of your life where 9 to 5 will work.
Right.
But again, what works for you. So for you, were working, then you became an entrepreneur, and then an opportunity for an amazing organization came about, and then you decided to take that. What was that process like for you? And was it an easy process?
It's a growth-filled journey for
Yes.
sure. It was an easy process because I had set my intentions, but it did come with a lot of processing and growth within myself. So I launched my business. It was fall of 2020 after I had been doing some coaching and realized I could really help people. And I really enjoyed it. And so I launched my business around that, it was fall of 2020. And I did that until I started working with EforAll November of 2023. And as an entrepreneur, it was my first business. I had never really known how to, like marketing, how to run a business. I never went to, I went to business school, but I didn't learn like how to actually run my own business, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a journey. It was a up and down journey. I had great months. I had months where I was not getting no income.
You're an
was
entrepreneur,
coming in.
right?
Right. And so I remember I was doing this often. I was like, you know what? I need some consistency. And I did struggle with, wow, if I do go back to a 9 to 5, like, does that mean that I'm a failure? Does that mean that I'm not, that I wasn't successful in what I'm doing? And I really had to work through that, which was amazing. I'm so grateful that I'm so connected to myself and so aware of myself that I was able to really like sit with myself and say, you know what, Armida, if you're stressed about money, you can't really fully show up for the people you're serving if you're in survival mode. So I was like, I'm gonna set my intentions. I have with my higher power, and I did. And it was late summer of 2023. I remember I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm ready to go back to corporate America. And I want to still continue to do my business. Not doing my business was never an option because I absolutely adore what I do, and I know it's what I'm meant to do till the day I die. And so I was like, how do I do both, right? And also,
Yeah.
I was missing work. So it was more than the money. I am a very social person.
Yeah.
I love being involved in a lot of things, and I miss working with a team. I was a one-woman show for so many years, and working with clients, I enjoy that. But I wanted to work with a team that I can create and grow with and do amazing things. And I remember, like, I finally was like, you know what, I'm ready. I felt ready. This was late summer of 2023. I set my intentions. I prayed on it. I remember I journaled. I'm so big on journaling. Like, I want a job. Like, if I'm going back to corporate America, I want a job that I get that it's flexible enough that I can continue to do my business, continue to work on my business, has that flexibility, that I get to work with an amazing team who's creative, who are visionaries, who are really having an impact, who are doing so many amazing things in the community and helping the people that they're serving. And anyways, it was a long list of what I wanted. And kid you not, I got that and so much more. I remember I applied for like maybe 3 or 4 places, and EforAll being one of them. And I went to EforAll to a pitch contest back in October. And I was like, I love this place. I love this organization. I love what they're doing. I saw the impact that we're having in the community. I saw the talent that we have in our community showing up and really giving their hearts and souls during pitch contests. I saw Claudia and Jose, who were the only ones that were there at the moment, just holding it down and really like just being rock stars. And I was like, this is where I belong. And I applied and I got in and I started working with them in November. They were looking for someone. I had actually applied before then, but I wasn't so familiar with them. I had applied just to apply. And so I went to pitch contest to check them out.
To check them out.
And then after I made that connection, I was like, okay, I think I know this is where I belong. Right?
Oh,
and
okay.
I was like, okay, God, I've already applied there. If it's meant to be, they'll call me. If it's not, something else will come along. And sure behold, they called me. They offered me the position of program manager, and it's been heaven sent since. I've been there now for almost a year and a half, and I couldn't be more grateful to be where I am. All my intentions came true. I get to continue to do the work that I do through my business, because as a program manager, I'm holding the space for entrepreneurs to grow and to thrive and to really feel heard, seen, and validated in times where they're the most vulnerable, when they're putting themselves out there into the community. A lot of our entrepreneurs start the program and their families don't even know that they're doing this. So to be able to support them through this transition, it's like heaven sent. I feel like EforAll, it's not, I don't feel like I work for them. I feel like they're my clients, because I get to work with people at the same level. It's different, but I get to do the work that I love to do with a group of amazing local talent that I honestly feel extremely grateful and honored to be able to be a part of their journey, even if it's for 3-4 months, right? And I work with Jose, Claudia, and Victoria, who are amazing, and we work wonderful together. We support each other. Like, we really have
the dream team.
We do, man. And I feel so blessed and so lucky.
I love that for
and
you.
Not only that, I get to work with people like you and the mentors and the readers and the judges and the interviewers. So many pots that are in the hands that bring this whole thing together. And I'm all about collaboration. And I get to live that in my 9 to 5. And I get to get inspired by my entrepreneurs, and at the same time learn things that I can implement into my business. So talk about the best job ever.
I know, no, like I know, I mean, I know the team, and you're right. I've worked with you guys on a few things, pitch contests and final presentation and judging and reading and interviewing. And I mean, I've done 1 or 2 things.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate the support, the love, everything, because we couldn't do this without the community.
It's community. It really is community. I enjoy doing it. And as you mentioned, the entrepreneurs, it's so impactful to them, right?
Yeah.
They're just starting out, and some are, a lot further along, but it's just being able to help them with that confidence, with that business, with, insight, advice, and all of this. And so I know that you guys are always looking for mentors. So I'll encourage you to sign up to be a mentor. I've been a mentor for 3 years now, and, I haven't looked back. And, I gain, I learn also, because you don't have to be an expert at everything, but just listen and guide. And the entrepreneurs get 2 mentors, and it's a wonderful program. I support it completely, and that's why I keep showing up, just for the entrepreneurs. I adore you guys, and I like working with you guys, and certainly what you do. But for me, it's the impact of the community, the impact of the entrepreneurs who leave and start their business and then turn around and hire people in the community and things like that. It's this consistent, thing that's sustainable. It's this consistent thing, like, you're not just taking, but you're giving back.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. And I know you love us, and we love you. But it is about the entrepreneurs. It really is about giving them that safe space to grow and making sure that they feel. I feel like I like to say, like, if I can summarize what EforAll does for the entrepreneurs, it's really provide that safe space. Because if we don't feel safe, we're not going to take action, and that keeps us paralyzed, right? If we're in fear, we're paralyzed. We're not trying to do something out of our comfort zone. But if you feel safe because you're being supported by EforAll, by the people that are connected with EforAll, from the community, come on, like, how powerful is that? It really helps them build that confidence, build that trust within themselves to get out there and do things they've never done before, because we're all supporting them within the community and in the community that they're serving.
No, absolutely. And I'll end with EforAll for this. So I do recommend, like, a lot of folks to sign up for it.
You.
And, the last conversation that I have with somebody that you know quite well, she just talks about the cohort. Just the cohort and, like, the group chat that they have. And, if they have a question about business, they can just put it in the group chat, because this is the entrepreneurs that they all went through the program with, and how they're connected. And, they feel like they can always ask question, and somebody in the group knows something because they've gone through it or are currently going through it. So that was, for me, I was like, oh, that is so good. That is so good.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And to be a part of that is just mind blowing. Like, I'm
Good.
wake up every morning extremely grateful.
Good.
To be able to do what I do with EforAll and to still be doing my business. I'm not gonna lie, I did take a year. I still worked with clients, but I took a year off. I needed time to kind of refresh and reanalyze things and pivot. And so I took a year off. That was in actively marketing, showing up, and I have a game plan. I just recently got back into my business more hands-on, because I'm looking to do a rebrand, a relaunch in the summer with new offerings. And I'm really grateful to have had the time to grow within the cohort and in so many ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. And that's been able to help me to do things a little bit different.
Awesome. Well, I love that for you. I can't wait to see the relaunch, the rebrand, and all of that. And, there's so much goodness and true gems in what you said, not being afraid to pivot, not being afraid. And I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that, coming from having, your own business and then to go to another role, you asked yourself, does that mean I fail? And no, it does not.
Nope.
No, it does not. Like, you are an adult, right? Like, it's a scary part, right? Like, because some days you ever think, like, I'm an adult. Like, there's nobody to tell me what to do. Like,
it's kind of exciting but scary.
It is exciting but scary, because there's sometimes you just want your parents or somebody to just, like, to pay all the bills, to do all the laundry, and to do all that, right? But if someone's judging you, that's their business. Let them. Do what works for you. Do what brings you joy, what makes you happy. Make mistake and fail and start over and win and create your own definition of success.
Yes, absolutely. Success is a journey, and life is a journey. And we think it's about the goal, but it's never about the goal. It's about the person you become. Go as you go towards that goal, because you're going to have to grow. If you're going to do things you've never done before, it takes a new version of you to do things you've never done before.
100%.
And so you have to just trust the journey and realize like sometimes you're going to be pulled into directions that you may not feel like your ego is going to tell you like, no, I can't do this. But if your soul if you feel a soul connection and you know that's going to help you, pay your bills, grow in whatever way, go with it. Trust God's timing, because God is always talking to you through your intuition. And when you connect to that and you surrender, you give up control, but you actively show up because you need to take action, right?
Yeah.
But when you surrender control and you just go with the flow and you're showing up and your intentions are pure, life is going to work for you and everything's going to unfold naturally. And I tell my entrepreneurs now who are launching their business, who are thinking like, should I get a part-time job? Should I get a full-time job? Why should I do this? Does this mean I failed? And I always tell them, listen, if you're stressed about paying the bills, you're not going to be able to fully show up for your business. So you might as well find something, set your intentions, find something that aligns, that can take that pressure off of you. Because if you're in survival mode, you're not in creation mode. You can't be in both. You're either in one or the other. So you might as well find a way to pay the bills and still find the time to work on your business. And now you get to work on your business from a place of not feeling lack, right? So your energy, if you're feeling lack energy, is going to be a lot more different than if you're feeling, abundance, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're not worried about the bills.
Listen, the bills are coming no matter what.
Right.
The bills will never go away. That you could go on vacation and come back.
Right. They're always there.
They're always there.
And they don't miss a beat.
They do not. They do not. I'm like, wait, didn't I just pay you? They are. So, but as Armida said, listen, do what you have to do for you. Do what works for you. So thank you so much for sharing, your journey as an entrepreneur that is still ongoing. Your journey at EforAll that is still ongoing, and, the ability that you get to do in both areas of your life to touch others, to help others. And, I would say my purpose is to help others find their light. And it seems like you have a similar purpose.
Yes.
So I'm so happy that we connected because, light attracts light.
Yes, me too. Yes, I love that we have connected in so many ways. And I love that, we're here having this conversation. And I really am grateful for everything that shows up in my life.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being a part of that.
No, well, thank you for being a part of mine. So thank you for sharing that. So we've talked, and you talked a lot about, being mindful and intentional. But what is it that you do for self-care? So the mindfulness in the day, it's one thing, it's good. But what do you do? Is there something that this is for me? It's not for the kids. It's not for the work. It's not for the business. It's for Armida.
Oh, gosh. So for me, I love, like I said, I do have my Monday through Friday routine that I have that I do to take care of myself. I also just started, I realized as I'm getting older, I was like,
Stop.
We have to bring it up.
Okay.
Part of life.
I know.
I was starting to feel really not myself. And I was like, what's going on? Started fall of last year. I was like, I really don't feel like myself. I'm starting to feel a little bit off. I'm like, what's going on? Nothing major was happening in my life. Job's going great. Business is going great. Family, kids, everything's going great. And I was like, I know I've been doing things at home, but I wasn't really taking care. I wasn't taking supplements or vitamins. I wasn't really going to the gym. And I had something I always wanted to do because I've always been a very active person.
Yeah.
I've always been into sports, into dancing, into just doing anything that involves being active.
Yeah.
And so recently what I finally did, I started taking care of myself by making sure that I started to take the supplements, that I started to eat right. People don't want to talk about eating right. It is so important for us. It completely changed me. I was eating, a little bit, not as good as I normally would like to eat, but it started to affect me. And I was like, maybe when I was younger, it was okay for me to eat all the sugar and sweets and everything else. But now I can't handle that. So listening to my body and being able to say, okay, what's going on? And then being able to feed it what it needed. So making sure that I'm eating healthy, making sure that I'm taking my supplements. And I started working out at home. And what I do for self-care now, it's my second month, it's that I joined a gym.
Okay.
And it's kind of like CrossFit. It's very active. I go 4 times a week.
Yikes.
Yeah, I just started my second month. But I go 4 times a week, and I have never lifted weights in my whole life. I'm lifting weights.
Okay.
Doing so many things that are making me feel like I feel like myself. I feel like I have more energy.
Good.
When we create more energy, like gives us more energy. So I feel even more energized, even more focused. And so that's my self-care. I don't care what's going on. I made the commitment, and this is not a temporary thing for me. This is a lifestyle change because I want to serve the world, serve the community, serve myself, and I want to live a long, health. My grandmother lived to almost 108.
Yeah, so, you told me that.
Yes.
Like insanity.
Yes. I would love to live as old as her, maybe even older.
Yeah.
But I want to live. It's not about the quantity; it's about the quality.
Absolutely.
I want to be strong. I want my mind to be all there. I want to be able to walk around like my grandmother was doing. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing all those things. So that's what I've been doing for self-care lately, besides my usual meditating, reading, and doing those quick morning things that I do in the morning. But it's really like working out, man. And I have to say, my confidence has gotten even more like sharp. I was confident already, but I feel more sharp.
Yeah.
I feel more energized, more focused, and I feel really productive. And I made that commitment, and I intend to keep it up. And it's been 5 weeks now, and I haven't looked back. And I'm more and more interested. Like I keep reading about different things I can do, I can incorporate. And so now I'm having a whole transitional in my nutrition and everything else.
No, I love that for you. The thing is like when you're a teen, right? You can exist on pizza and chicken wings. And then in your 20s, it's the same thing. Yeah. You can party, you can eat, you can drink. But then once you hit 30, like things starts to shift a little and then you're good. And, but like it's real. Like, and then when you hit like 35 and going up and then 40, things start happening to your body that you cannot control. And then you don't want to think about, like you says, exercising not to get a six-pack, but exercising for your health, right? Yes. Eating right, yes. Not to lose weight, but to be healthy.
To feel good.
Yes.
Because there's no price to feeling good. And it's not looking good from exercising, it's just the icing on the cake. Because it's about how you feel. But of course, if you're working out, you're going to start to look better and feel better.
100%. And your energy, like it shifts. It's the energy shifts because again, in your 20s, like you feel like you don't get tired. I don't feel like I got tired in my 20s. In my 40s, I get tired. I always used to be able to insist on 3 hours of sleep and be good.
Same.
It's different now. So I was like, I like sleeping.
Talk about that. I prioritize sleep.
It's important.
I prioritize sleep. That's important. I love myself so much that I know I need 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and I'm going to make sure I get it. So don't invite me out at midnight because I'll be home sleeping by 9, 10 o'clock.
Oh my God. I will not. I promise you that I will not invite you out at midnight because I will not be there either. But again, that was nothing in our 20s, right? Because we could go out at midnight.
Right.
And go to work the next day.
Right. Yes. No, not anymore. Not to say life is a flow. I
God,
do have parties sometimes, and I do occasionally stay up later. But you're going to catch me 80% of the time, if not 90. I'm making sure I'm prioritizing my workouts and my sleeping and my food. And of course, I give myself a little time to play. So I do occasionally have the cookie, have the brownie, stay up late or, whatever other thing. But I make sure that I keep my word and that I'm taking care of myself.
I love that. No, I mean, it's important. I think it's important in your youth. And, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a priority for my youth because I had to look at a treadmill and lost weight, right? In our 20s, that's how it was. But it's different. But, just no judgment, enjoy yourself. But yes, as you certainly get older in age, you certainly want to maintain your energy, and it's health. It's not about losing weight. It truly is about like just maintaining your health and being happy. So thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So I know that we're coming to a close, but I just want to ask a couple of things. So you mentioned that you love to read.
Yes.
What is the latest book that you're reading?
I I love that. So I'm actually reading the Magdalene manuscript
Okay.
right now. It's about Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
So I'm reading that now. I'm about halfway through. Before that, I read, oh gosh, what was the name of the book? I can't think of it right now. Oh,
It always pops up. So
I
don't.
know, but I do read often. And my next read, I already bought it. It's a new book from Lewis Howell from the what is it? Greatness School of Greatness. He has a new book on money and growing up in the hood. I've worked through so much money beliefs, and I'm still working through money beliefs. And so I bought his book, and I can't wait to read it to further heal that relationship with money. And and the Mary Magdalene book, it just talks about the relationship she had with Jesus, and about it's the sacred. Oh gosh, I can't remember the subtitle either right now. But that's what I'm reading right now, and it's really interesting to hear a different perspective on what we've been told all our lives.
Oh my God, I wish it's so funny. I think everything happens for a reason, right? And I think you and I are going to have a deeper conversation about that, because I think especially, I can't speak for your culture, but I know from my culture, there's a very toxic relationship with money, right? And we don't realize it's toxic because how do we see money? Do we see money as, a way to escape?
Right.
Because that's not good. But do you see, so there's so many things. And then even coming from the church, they always say money is the love of, money is the root of all evil, but it's not. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil, right? But people often misquote it because you need money to survive. So there's just so much there that, we're going to have to talk about it offline. Sorry. Maybe we'll do a short thing one day, and we'll talk about toxic relationship with money and things like that. And then the final and actually, I also just found out you're from Brooklyn.
I am. Born and raised.
I did not know that. New Yorker. She's a New Yorker. Yay.
That's why my daughter makes fun of me, because I always say, I want coffee.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you still say coffee. Or there's little things that I'll say that she'll call me out on it. I'm like, it's not going to go
You're
away.
a New Yorker. So we watched Madagascar. My daughter was obsessed with Madagascar. And, the little old woman, we're New Yorkers, right? My favorite line in the whole movie. I watched it ad nauseum when she was younger. So final question, vacations. Do you like vacations? And where's your next place you're planning on going?
Oh, who doesn't love vacations?
Some people don't.
I know, that's
true. Some people don't.
Some people,
I'm like, they're just good.
So I cannot wait till I get to a space where I can travel quarterly.
Working on it. We're working on it.
We are
working on it. It's coming.
Yes, I'm so grateful for where I am, and yes, I am planning a next vacation. Actually, shout out to my sister Janice. Her and I are planning
I love it.
sister trip.
I love that.
Her and I and my other sister and maybe my mom. Sometime early summer, just to go to Cancun, Mexico.
Nice. I love Cancun.
Yeah, I've never been, so it'll be my first time.
It's beautiful. Stay in the hotel zone. I love the hotel zone.
Okay, I'll have to look at. Thank you for that, because we're looking into it. But that would be my next vacation with them, and then a vacation with the kids at some point. We're still trying to figure out whether we want to go to Dominican Republic or do something else. So we're working on it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you sharing. So Armida Abreu, she is a life and relationship coach. She is relaunching her business. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following her. She's also the program manager at EforAll. So if you're looking to, just check them out. They do pitch contests. They do programs. They have events. So, they are helping entrepreneurs in the community. And there's so many lives that they have touched through the program. And you just truly are a light. So I really enjoyed our chat. And I thank you for saying yes. And thank you for popping on the show. And, I learned a couple of new things about you today.
So did I. All right. I love that.
Yes, and we're going to have the after show, but the show is only an hour, so that's what you all get. But I am always humbled and grateful when I get an opportunity to just really talk to other individuals that are so passionate about being a light for others, that are so passionate about helping others and, making this space better for all of us and not just for one of us. So thank you so much for saying yes.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you guys for, watching.
All right, awesome. So stay tuned every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Sipping Tea with Suzanne. Let's shout out our executive producer,
Yes.
Paul Anderson. Yay.
Good job. Thank you.
Yes, and as always, this is Suzanne and
Armida.
saying bye-bye.
Bye.